to our Tuesday night chat. This is week 2 of our training for the 72-hour Kit Challenge. And the funny thing is about that Kit Challenge that we're working towards is that the actual challenge itself only goes for 48 hours. So for 48 hours, your mission, should you choose to accept, is to go without electricity, without tap water, so running water, and without your bed for 48 hours. Now, this challenge is super fun. It can be done from anywhere. So it can be done from your own home. Just have to be mindful not to turn on the taps, and that can be quite tricky. Or you can take a group and go camping for the weekend, or your family, and enjoy some nature and outdoors whilst you're doing this challenge. And really, when you're set up for camping, this challenge is a cinch. You've all done it before without even realizing you've done this challenge. So for some people, though, it's getting the kit organized and getting the camping gear, and some people really haven't been camping at all. So we're going to go through a few things that's going to make this challenge super simple, but also to make it extra fun. If you do sign up to do the challenge, you register, it's $60 for a group of up to 6. Or if you are a summit member, so you bought the ticket to attend the summit or download all the speakers from the summit, then you actually get the challenge with your team for only $45. Now, with that, you get to a bunch of challenge activities. And in the challenge activities, I'm giving away in this training how to complete those challenge activities so that you can easily tick them off and earn yourself awards. So complete 10 of those activities and you're going to get a bronze award. Complete between 10 and 20 of those activities and you're going to get a silver award. And complete over 20 of those activities and you get a gold award. Now, we love awards, but we love prizes even more. So for participating in any of those challenges, what you do is you take a photo of you doing the challenge, and it could be using your fire starter kit. It could be making a bedroll, which is what I'm going to teach you tonight. And then you take a photo of that and you upload the photo to the group, and somebody is going to win prizes just for uploading those photos and sharing you ticking off those challenges. And it'll be some random and some wacky prizes that, not prizes, the prizes are amazing, but the title for the most inventive or for the most regular, or we're gonna make up some really cool, fun ways to win prizes. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the training for tonight, and I'm going to share with you my screen. So give me 1 second to bring that up. And just go to that. Okay, so click, click, click. Alrighty. So now, let me just make it bigger. We're going to start with having a plan. So when to bug out and when to bug in. Now, last week I went through what do you need to do to create a 72-hour kit. And so if you didn't watch last week's training on that, you can find it on the website. You can find it on my YouTube channel, which is Kelly Wilkins, Kelly with an I, at My Self-Reliance. Put that in the Google or My Self-Reliance Australia, you'll come up with that. You can go back and watch it. But I'll do a little recap as well tonight. And one of the most important things is when we're creating an emergency plan is to know when to action that plan. So what makes up an emergency plan? So let's have a look at that. We need to figure out a few things. First of all, having a knowledge of your local area is important. Whether your local area means the area around which you work or your actual home, or those are the two main local areas that we think about, maybe the kids' school. Knowing a few different escape routes out of that local area. Now, some areas are built with, one road in and one road out. And if you're needing to exit those roads, you can get quite stuck even in normal peak hour traffic, let alone an emergency. So first of all, let's think of what constitutes an emergency, or what could you be preparing for? So I've got these few little questions here. What emergency are you planning for? It could be something like a flood. Lots of those lately. Floods in your area. It could be a house fire. It could be a fire in your neighborhood, or down the road. Lots of different reasons for planning and having your emergency kit ready, your grab and go bag or your 72-hour kit. But sometimes you need to think about the different contingency plans based on the different situations. If you are bugging out, which means you are leaving home, you don't plan to be back home in the next day or two, then we need to think of your meeting spots. So I could reorganize these questions and really start with the plan for bugging out first. So bugging out is going to be necessary if staying at home is going to be dangerous, or if your home is fine but you think that you're going to be stuck and you don't want to have your home be your bugging in space for the next couple of days, then bugging out might be the thing to do. It might mean that you're going to go to grandma's house or to a good friend. But first of all, you need to think about getting your family members together. Okay, what if an emergency happens and your family members are in different locations? What's your plan for communication? Do your kids have a signal that if they were at school and something was to happen, that they would know what to do next? They would have a friend's place to go to. Where would you be able to find your kids? Maybe even if you're late coming home from work one day, do your kids know what the backup plan is? So when we did this emergency plan with our family, we actually created 3 emergency meeting spots. Now, the first meeting spot would be just outside of the home. So in front of the house, that's the first meeting spot. If that's too dangerous, then we chose another meeting spot that was around the corner. Okay, if that seemed like that was obviously too dangerous, then we had a third spot that was up the road a little bit more where the park is. And if that was not a no-go, then we had another spot, which is our local church. So we kind of talk through these things with our kids, knowing where those meeting spots are and what would constitute, why not this spot, why would we go that spot? And we did those walkthroughs. Okay, if the kids have a phone, that's great. They've got that some way of communication. If not, what are you going to do? Then thinking about how you would exit the local area. So I have this thinking in mind that if we needed to get out of our local area, my obvious first choice would be we're going to take the 4-wheel drive. We're going to obviously drive to our next destination. If that becomes an issue and the car is not in use anymore, my next plan would be, and when I created this plan, I'm like, I really want a caravan as well. I want the four-wheel drive, pulling a caravan, and then on the back of the caravan is a set of bicycles. And if the car and the caravan aren't going where I want them, then out comes the bicycles. We're going to get on those. We're going to take the bikes as far as we can. And then if the terrain gets too rough and rugged and we can't ride, great, we've got our backpacks and we're on foot the rest of the way. So, you know, that's a really good escape plan, but it may not be doable for everyone. So you kind of have to think, what would you do in your family if you needed an escape plan? Okay, of course, having your bug out bag, having your 72-hour kit means that everything is all in one place. It's there, it's easy to grab. You've got copies of your important documents in there, photos that's in waterproof containers or other valuables that are laminated, and super simple ways of putting those things on USB, and keeping those copies of everything in your bug out bag. And I will go through just touching on some of the other things that's important to have. Okay. Now, what if you are not leaving the house, but you need to bug in? You need to plan for a lockdown situation, right? We're staying in. What areas in your house are great for an emergency situation? So, depending on that emergency situation, again, maybe it's rising floodwaters. Do you have places in your home that you can get higher and higher? Are you going to be safe in a flood zone situation? Your house is not going to go under. Is it that some emergency situations, weather situations, mean that you want to cover up the windows? Do you have a place in the house where you're not exposed to the outside? Maybe there's an internal part of the house that doesn't have external windows and you're most safe right in the center of the house, or you know, underneath. Maybe you've got a downstairs that's safer, and you know, thinking in some cyclone situations, or maybe EMF situations, you know, different emergencies will call for different solutions. So having parts of your home that could be cooling, extra cool, or parts of your home that can be centralized for heat and for warmth. Okay. What roles does each person play in an emergency situation? Do you have one person that's the driver? Do you have one person that's the navigator? Do you have one person that is the checklist person? Do you have one person that's taking care of the pet? Do you have one person that's made sure they've grabbed up extra food that can be last minute shoved in bags? Or the person that's going to grab the extra bucket that's full of all the extra camping equipment? So have you assigned people roles? Someone that's going to call the next of kin, or the person who, you know, the best friend that you're going to go to in case of emergency. Now, some of us have had best friends for 30 years that now in the last 2 years, they're not the people that we can go to rely on to look after us. So make sure that you've chosen 5 people that you could turn to. One would be close. The next one might be a little bit further out. The next one might be a little bit further out. The last person might be interstate, but that might be necessary for you to have backup people in different areas, and you know that they've got your back and you've got their back in case of emergency. And then, of course, looking at what is the plan for your pets? Do you have animals that you're gonna let loose and okay, I'm letting you out of your cage, you're on your own now, or are those pets gonna come with you? And then what is in your emergency kit? So this is the thing that we always spend the most amount of time on, is what's in your kit. Because what's in your kit can actually be similar for a lot of people, but a lot of the things that we've just gone through and talked about, you have to do the work for your own family to nut those things out. I'm happy to be a consultant for anyone who wants to who feels like they're getting stuck and would like some help in any of those areas. And like, hey, we're gonna work through this together, because it can be really overwhelming. There can be so much to think about that it's like you don't even get started. So if you need somebody like that, if you need a coach or someone who can consult with you, then happy to be that person for you. Or you just might need to get together with a buddy and say, okay, I know we live nearby, let's help each other through these questions and get through them. So let's quickly go over what is in your bug out bag. So whether you're bugging out or bugging in, water is the most essential thing that you need. You can't last more than 3 days without water. Of course, we're never drinking tap water in any normal conditions, let alone flood waters. And there's good reasons to not drink your tap water. And if you haven't found out that your tap water is full of chlorine and fluoride and other chemicals that you don't want to touch, and you want to make sure that's filtered anyway, then definitely put aside water for emergencies. So 3 to 6 litres per person per day for at least 2 weeks is a great standard to have. But you got to start where you can really, wherever you can start is great. Okay, glass. It says glass is best, but I'm not gonna rate glass necessarily, because glass is heavy. It has its also drawbacks. But you need water that hasn't had other things stored in it, that can be actually away from sunlight and kept in dark place, so that it can actually last. There's a few really good water saving videos that's in the My Self-Reliance channel. Go back to those and have a look, and I'll repost them so that it keeps it fresh. So you are actually learning how to store water, because there's lots to it actually. Okay, next thing you need is light. So having more than one way to produce light. I'm actually sitting talking about light in a room where all the down lights have actually blown. Well, there's one that kind of flickers on and off, and I've got several lamps around me, including candles. So I can actually vouch for that you need several different ways to light up, whether you're on the go or whether you're at home. Having matches and torches and candles and flint or magnesium firelighters is super important, because one way isn't going to serve all the different needs. Okay, like in flooding and your matches get wet, or you might want a really quick way, so you're going to have a big lighter. You need more than one way to light a fire, or to just give you light. Next thing is food, making sure that you're getting your food storage, prepping for food so that it's easy to go, easy to make. If the only thing that you can do is boil water, it means you can have a good meal anyway. So there's lots of different food options. I'm not going to go into those tonight, but when you're preparing for the 48 hours of no electricity, make sure you've figured out how you're going to eat. What food can you make without the stove, without the oven. Over fire cooking is great. Boiling water is easy, but really camp cooking can be fun and really interesting. So I'll put in some links to those over the next few days so that you can start to prepare your mind for what food can I take with me easily on camp and what's going to store well in eskies. So the next thing is protective clothing. And with all of my kits, I re-stack my clothing every 6 months, so I prepare for the season ahead. So clothing made from natural fibers that are fast drying, that are sturdy, that are lightweight, super important. Heavy duty gloves, hats, super important to have multiple pairs of socks, all those good things. So what are you going to pack? Making sure that you've, got some sun protection, etc. Next thing, make sure you have your toiletries packed. So there's certain toiletries that I never unpack from my grab and go bag. They're always there, including if I've used my grab and go bag and I've used my toothbrush in it, the thing that I'm going to do when I come home is buy a brand new toothbrush and stick that back into my toiletries bag. Having extra garbage bags for waste disposal, really important. Making sure that you have a good concentrated shower wash or non-water cleansing items. So it could be, moist towelettes, really good. And make sure that you have something to look after babies if you have babies. So there's really great ways of showering even if you don't have running water. You can conserve water by standing in a bucket and just towel washing with minimal water. You can actually wash your whole body, and there's some really inventive ways that you can actually be clean. You don't have to go without shower for 48 hours. You can take a camp shower. There's all kinds of ways. So if you're bugging in and you're at home and you can't use running water, you can actually still use your shower to wash yourself, but just with a bucket and minimal water. And I would also suggest that if you are doing it at home, that prior to the 48 hours, you actually fill up the bathtub with water so that you've got access to water. And with a bucket, you can even flush your toilet using a bucket of water each time. Okay, so you don't have to go without luxuries entirely. Making sure you pack a first aid kit, and of course knowing how to use your first aid kit, super important. And if you use anything out of your first aid kit, that you restock it every time you use it as well. Medical supplies, I put this one in that's different to your first aid kit because having your medical supplies such as your pain relievers, vitamins, prescription medications, even cold sore cream, ones like for having body lotions for dry skin. If you are on medication, super important to pack that. We have a son who's type 1 diabetic, and so we have to make sure that's packed. So that's why it has its own separate heading. You need to, be prepared. And I have stocked up on medical supplies, even though I like my herbal remedies. It's always good to have a backup plan for your backup plan. So, if you're a essential oils kind of a gal or guy, then that might form a lot of your medical supplies, and that's really cool. So just think about your own situation and what you need, and you know, even if you have extras that you don't use, you never know when you're going to be able to be a support for somebody else. So keeping extra cash in your bag or stashed in your house somewhere, keep it in a safe place. There is a challenge out there about using cash as much as you can these days, and you know, cash is king, but you also want to have a good stash of cash that you don't use, and not just $50 either. Like, you know, keep $1,000 in cash for emergency use, because that you never know that's going to come in handy. So, you know, even if you have to squirrel it away a little bit by a little bit, having a good amount of cash will be good for that rainy day when you need it. And a variety of notes. So, you know, you don't really want $1,000 in $100 bills. You do want a lot of different notes so that you can use the right money in case of emergency. Okay, and then having communication will be super important. Having a wind up what they call a crank radio. I just bought a crank radio the other day. It has a solar panel on it. It has a torch. And with the crank, it means it's never going to, you don't need batteries. It's so good. Take practice in using it. They say ABC is the best if you're going to be in an emergency situation, because they'll give you regular updates. And even if you don't like the channel regularly, it's good to know how to find it. So, you know, you will be able to discern a lot of information from there if need be. And if you also are good at ham radios or other forms of communication, even walkie-talkies, that kind of thing, it does have its limited use, but having those if you're in a convoy or you know, in a short distance, can be really, really helpful. So those hand radios, like a walkie-talkie kind of thing, can really only stretch up to about 17 kilometers with no real interference, but they can be also useful. So I think this is my last slide. Yeah, so okay, these two boxes that you can see, I'm going to use these little boxes as my little demonstration to teach you how to make a bed roll. So if you don't have a sleeping bag with 3 well, I'd say blankets, or you can make a bed roll. So first of all, and you know, I did this massive search on YouTube for a video on how to make this style of bed roll, and there's not one. I cannot believe it. So I'm going to make my own video so you can actually see it in demonstration, but I'm just going to talk you through it because there's nothing out there, and I don't know people who know how to do this. It's such a cool thing I learned in my youth. And so if you have seen it before, I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't, this will be a really good tip. You want to try this at home. This is so fun. So first of all, you want to lay out a heavy blanket, or some people lay out a tarp first of all, so something that's waterproofish on the bottom, but it doesn't matter if you don't have that. You could use this bedroll at home if you didn't have a sleeping bag. So let's just say this orange piece is our first blanket, and I don't know if it's going to let me on this slide move it. Can I move it? No. It's just going to turn the page if I... Okay. So this orange piece is a blanket, and this yellow piece is a second blanket. So if I lay out the first blanket, and it's... Now you want to think about the width being your height. So if you're, you know, for a younger person that can fit on a blanket with this height, then you can use it this way. If you're a taller person, then you'll need to turn the blanket around so that you can fit it getting into it and be more like a sleeping bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the first blanket and lay it out. We're going to take the second blanket and overlap the first blanket by a third. This program isn't actually going to let me show it to you, but so you're overlapping the second blanket over by a third, and then which means in the middle you've got a width that's about your width. Okay, so that becomes your ground piece. Then if you take a third, like a sheet, I would use a sheet over the top of those two, and then you've got 3 pieces. Now the third piece can either sit over the middle, over the whole lot, but then you can't really see what's underneath. So I shift my sheet over so that it's over the top of the first blanket that's down. And so now you've got like a sandwich piece. I'm going to stop share now. Okay, so you've got the first piece, you got the second piece layering on, and then you got the third piece, and it's like sandwiching it. Okay, so then you take the one that's on top, and you bring it over, and then you take this piece and you fold it back, and then you take the bottom piece and you fold it over whilst you're tucking up the bottom ends. And when you've tucked up the bottom ends and then the last piece goes over and tucks under, you've actually got a nice little bedroll that you can slip like a nice little sandwich into the middle, and you actually don't fall out of that bedroll. So I don't know if you can picture that, but don't worry, I'm going to make a cool video on it. But it makes a nice little easy bedroll. The more blankets that you have layering up, the warmer it will be. But what you can do, you don't have to have too many layers. If you have what they call a bivy bag or an emergency bag, which is basically a massive sheet of alfoil or mylar bag material, and you slip that into the mylar bag or to the bivy bag, then you're kind of wrapped in alfoil, and that keeps you very toasty warm as an emergency blanket for any situation. So that's going to be one of the tasks that I get you to do in the challenge. So one out of the 10, 20 or 30, you can tick that off and go, all right, I'm going to put together my bedroll, take a photo of that, tick, that's going to be one of my activities. And there's your cheat sheet for doing that. Okay. Now I'm going to give you another cheat for putting together a little fire starter kit, and there is actually a video in the group, and that's where you take those cotton rounds, those round cylinder cotton rounds, and if you didn't see the video that's in the My Self-Reliance chat group in there, what we're going to do is take a candle, any old kind of candle, you melt that down. You're basically slipping those cotton discs into the melted wax, taking that out, sitting that on a grease-proof paper, letting that dry. And once that's dried, if you need to, you can break open one of those. Now it's got wax around that cotton round. You break it open to expose the cotton round on the inside. And if you had any kind of a flint and spark and light that, that would start to burn, but it would burn slowly like a candle. Therefore, it's a really great fire starter. And so you can start to build your little fire on this little great fire starter. So they're 2 little hints that I'm going to leave with you today that you can tick off your challenge, as well as all the other good information that I've shared with you. And I want to open it up to any questions. So you can unmute yourself if you have any questions. No, everyone's on mute, and sometimes it takes a little while to come off mute and ask a question, or maybe you don't have any questions. Maybe you want to make a comment. Has anyone seen that bedroll idea before that I wasn't able to demonstrate beautifully?
I'm waiting on your amazing video coming to show how to do that. That'd be really cool to have. I'm like, I can sort of see it, but I don't get it.
No, I know, that's a very difficult one. So, yeah. So, all right, stay tuned for that. That's my little teaser. Yeah.
I was really excited with the cotton ball and waxing. That's a great idea.
Yes.
Explain that well.
Thank you. Conceptualize that one. Yeah, and that's a really fun thing to do. So, you know, they just fit into a little tight container. You can have a whole bunch of those that will light any fire for weeks. You'd be good to go.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's a nice little video in the group too. You can refer to that one, but I'll make my own video. That's super fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. Stacey, I don't know if you had a question. You looking like you wanted to say something.
I was just coming to say thank you for sharing all the information while I've been making my dinner for my son. I've been listening, so it's been good.
Beautiful. Well, I'll definitely be bringing you some more little things that are going to be on the challenge page, and now you can see how easy and fun some of those things are to do. Yeah, can't wait for you guys to grab your groups together and register your team, give yourself a team name, and then work out maybe it's just with your family. Maybe you're going to do the bug-in option where you're doing the challenge from home, and maybe your team are all doing it from their own home. That's okay too. That's you know, however you want to do it. But knowing that you've got someone else to doing it with, that makes it all the more fun. And then so register your team and get them do that on the website. And we can, yeah, have some team challenges going. It'll be lots of fun.
There was one thing I was going to ask. You mentioned probably halfway through, like maybe 20, 30 minutes ago, about, let's say, for some reason, we won't go into any dark ideas, but for some reason you want to board up your windows if you're going to stay at home. How, if you weren't prepared for that at all and you had an apartment that had a lot of exposed windows, are there some tips for covering those?
I love your questions, Michael. Yes, I do have a really great tip. A really great tip for that one. So I went out and bought a lot of heavy garbage bags. So heavy duty, yeah, black plastic or garbage bags. You know, depending on the size of your windows, you could use bed coverings. And some of the reasons you would want to cover up your windows could be for OPSEC, which is your operation security. So it's just, you know, it could be weather or EMFs or those kinds of different things. But yeah, a black, you tend to see black being the you know, more prevalent options. But of course you're going to go with whatever you've got. So
with the black garbage bags, we saying like just get some gaffer tape or something and have a couple of rolls of gaffer tape and a couple of garbage bags. So if you need to, you can just, or is there some other way of attaching
tape them up? Yeah, no, gaffer tape, because I'm just looking at my windows. you know, most windows don't have a rail anymore, right? So you have to, there's nothing there to kind of hold a blanket in place. So having the gaffer tape would hold up plastic much better than a bed covering would. So yeah, that would be my go-to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, and then you could do multiple layers if you needed it thicker of black plastic. So yeah, and so that's one of the things that I've stocked up on pretty well is garbage bags, alfoil, and you know, kind of like anything in that kind of plastic, that those bags, drawers, freezer bags, for sanitary purposes. Yeah, shopping, even shopping bags, but all kinds of different plastic bags for different reasons.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's a great question. Thank you for asking, because it wasn't on any of those slides.
Just randomly, you said with the black, that's beneficial for blocking out EMFs. Is that the case with black plastic bags?
No. I can't really say for sure. No, if black plastic blocked out EMFs and that's all you needed, that would be like super cheap. No,
That'd be
no, we wouldn't be called the tinfoil hat brigade for that. So no, there's a lot more other ways of blocking EMFs. That would, yeah, another conversation we would need to go into.
Yeah, fair enough.
Meaning I need to do a lot more research myself on what's actually going to be blocked out by those things. But certainly chemical fallout is what I'm thinking about the black plastic.
Huh. Okay.
So the other thing that I hadn't mentioned, that if you are in Sydney and maybe you're watching this on a replay, we do have a destination for our camping, and you want to come and camp with us. We're actually going to St. Albans, which is 90 minutes northwest of Sydney. You can cross the Wiseman's Ferry if you're coming from the Sydney direction, or you can come down from, if you're coming down from like the Central Coast, you'd come out from the north. And there's a beautiful property. It's an Indigenous property, and they've actually got a beautiful beach there. And there's some photos of it in the group. It's actually a gorgeous beach when I was there, but because of the floods that came through, the sand has come up, so there's a lot of sand before you get to the water, so it's really beachy. And there's also toilets, compost toilets that are already built there with ramps and like, you know, half a dozen composting toilets, so it caters for a lot of people. There's been a lot of festivals there before. So it's a beautiful, big, spacious bit of property, and so we can cater it for a lot of people on this in this campgrounds with an IBC water tank. So it classes as not running water. There's no taps, but you are surrounded by water and access to pit toilets or compost toilets. So, you know, there's no digging involved. So if that makes it more inviting for people, it absolutely is a gorgeous place to camp. So looking forward to having as many people come and camp with us on location as possible, because then we can really get into and do all these fun activities, and you don't have to necessarily upload the photos to tick off those those team events and challenges that way. So I don't know if anyone else has any other questions or comments. Maybe there's other ways of fire starters that you can think of. If you don't have cotton rounds, or if you want to be more all about recycling, then you can just use the lint that comes out of your dryer. That makes for amazing fire starters. And you could just put a bag of that, like bag it up into a snap lock bag, so your lint, or you could do the same thing and throw it into the candle wax and cover it with wax so it actually burns slower. And then you don't have to go and buy, those cotton rounds. You've got a resource that most people would have in their home immediately. And then go find those candles that you've used, but the wick has kind of burned all the way down to the bottom, and then it's no good as a candle anymore. But that candle wax is going to be really useful to you in that project.
Oh wow, that idea with the lint. Just thinking there's going to be some hoarder, like those hardcore hoarders that those TV shows are made on, going, see, I knew I was keeping this for a reason. That's the ones that collect it.
Yes, finally I can use my lint. Either that or don't send up your house otherwise your whole house would go up in flames.
Yeah.
If you're hoarding lint.
I was going to with the camping location and everything, no running water and all that, great with the compost toilets. Is this a no electronic devices as well? Like,
no, you're
leave
allowed
your
your
phones at home?
electronic devices. You can have your battery packs. You can have your phones. You can kit yourself out with whatever battery operated thing you can figure it out. That's part of the geniusness of if you have your solar system worked out. No, go for your life. That's part of
Okay,
preparation and planning.
gotcha. All right, cool.
Yeah. So if you think about what solar systems that you can use. I mean, I don't want you to turn on your lights, the idea is not to go to the fridge necessarily. You want to be using foods that are more your storage foods than your refrigerated foods. If you're bugging out at home. So
Yeah.
that would be the idea there, is put whatever you want to eat into an esky, and that's kind of where you would be cooking from for the weekend. Thank you everyone for joining me, and thanks to those who've been watching the replay. Love for you to grab your team together, fill in that registration, join the groups that's on the website, so myselfreliance.com.au, and then you'll be able to chatter and connect into those groups. Lots of fun. Thanks, Stacey, for organising everything in WA, and for everyone who's jumped on.
Kelly recommends these nutritious fast foods for your grab-and-go bag. This vegan, non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free 72-hour pack provides you with loads of energy to keep you full for longer. Grab your summit special at myselfreliance.com.au and pick up a large protein shake, free with your kit. Kelly recommends these nutritious fast foods for your grab-and-go bag. This vegan, non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free 72-hour pack provides you with loads of energy to keep you full for longer. Grab your Summit Special at myselfreliance.com.au and pick up a large protein shake free with your kit.